go live.
Going live.
Let's
Oh,
go
we're live.
live.
All right,
we're
shit,
live
let's
right
go.
now.
Do you want to? Would you like to go check the sound?
Are you telling me to leave?
I can go check the sound if you
I'll
want.
actually go.
Oh snap! Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to Starbound, episode 34. This is an interesting episode because it is sort of a celebration around these parts. You know, it's graduation season, so my friend Yang, he just graduated, so I got to see him
Shout
one
out
last
to my
time.
boy Yang.
But now he's moving back to China, unfortunately.
Doing his thing.
But it's been fun. Sean and I have sort of explored the terrain on this day.
Yeah, we've been having
Celebratory
fun,
day.
bro. Even the terrain's going crazy, bro. That jaunt literally, like, it just blew up, bro. Like,
What You mean?
So I was like here, right? I was just standing, like doing, like minding my own business.
Yep.
And then you know how it's dark outside because it's night. I just see like a bluish white just like pop, right? And then
You're talking about the explosion.
the explosion that just
Bro, I was
happened.
talking about
seconds
just how we
ago.
were exploring the town today.
Oh, I was talking about the explosion.
There was also an explosion.
No, literally 2 seconds before we started this jaunt. Maybe like half a minute at max, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I look over, it's just a sea of black because it's night right now, right? You can't really see anything outside. Then boom, flash of like a bluish
I was in the
white,
bathroom,
bro.
so I missed.
It was loud. It was loud.
I heard it. I heard that shit. I
It was
heard
loud,
that shit,
bro.
Yeah.
And I don't see any light on the other half of the expo line. So.
Sorry, other half of the expo line. I hope you get energy soon. In the meantime, if you still got power on your iPhones, check out Starbound Podcast.
Yeah, if you shout out to the other side. If y'all got iPhones or computers,
You still got some battery left.
You know what I mean?
What are you
Check
gonna
out
do?
Starbound
You can play some cards.
Podcast.
You can watch some
You know what I
Starbound.
mean? This episode will drop soon.
That's what I'm saying.
Last episode already out. You know what I mean? Talking about Star Wars and stuff.
Yeah.
Not to
That was-
plug ourselves.
No, that was fun to talk about Star Wars last time.
That was great.
That
was so fantastic.
There are different types of episodes. There's like the episodes where we like catch up, right? There's episodes.
It happens way more often than you'd think, too.
Right, because sometimes we have like very different weeks.
Sometimes we got shit to do, homie.
But today was nice because I really feel like we got to catch up on a personal level before we did the podcast this week. Because we got to go explore. Like today, we went around and we checked out the local bars.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like
currently a lot of people at USC have just graduated. They did their whole little kind of commencement celebration. It's a celebration all over right now. There are hella patrol, like traffic police just trying to guard and like watch all the traffic.
It's crazy.
Little,
it's
like walk areas.
crazy in the area.
No, there's a hella heads. A lot of families are over right now. It is busy this time of year around USC.
It's weird because like I feel like every Wednesday, like LA is crazy, right? Like no matter where you go in LA for whatever reason, we've talked about this in the past, but like Wednesday is like the throwdown day for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Today is I believe it's a Friday. Ding ding ding. And like the interesting part is that on Fridays usually it's kind of quiet. So now on a Friday,
usually the whole weekend be dead, bro. No one
Right.
doing nothing on weekends.
But back on the East Coast, Friday is like that day.
That is the day. Friday, Saturday.
So it's weird to me that it feels off-putting that a Friday is bomb.
It's weird, bro. I was talking to Just, and it was like, yeah, I guess we're gonna try and turn up on a Friday. It just feels out of place.
He'll be here soon.
That's what we're supposed to do.
He might interrupt the podcast.
Well, I hope so.
But
honestly.
it won't be an
It'll be
a
a special guest star,
interruption.
allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I guess let's do a little bit of catching up with the people. How's your week been?
It's been good, bro. Shit. We talked about Star Wars last week. What has happened since then?
I know what I've been up to the last week, bro.
You want to go first?
Non-stop. I'll
Go
talk
ahead.
about it. So last episode, did I talk about the Star Wars episode or the one before that?
Talk about what?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe you gotta tell.
I gotta,
Talk about the screen.
I'm talking about the
You talked
48
about how
hour.
you were going to do it, but you
Yeah.
didn't talk about how you did it.
Okay,
You did
good.
it.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
We are on the back half now. I just completed the 48 hour feature screenplay challenge. I'll quickly, I know I probably talked about it in other episodes, but I'll talk about it again. Basically, you do a little bit of prep time, and then you try to spend 48 hours just writing an entire feature. So I spent the last week doing a lot of prep, a stupid amount of prep. I was trying to come up with character arcs for all the different characters, the plot and what kind of plot points I wanted to put into the story, the philosophical question. That's the thing. I was doing a lot of the prepping was also partly research because I was trying to figure out like, all right, what does it mean to tell a story at this length?
Of course.
So I learned a lot about like different types of wheels and like just what it means to put a character through a story. So I did like a week's worth of prep. I just only wanted to keep it like to a week because it defeats the purpose of, doing 3 months of prep only to do 48 hours of like writing an actual screenplay. So
I feel like the purpose of it as well is to get something on the paper.
Exactly. So I didn't want to spend too much time like prepping, right? Did the prep. I went in. First day was actually super easy. First day was super duper easy because I was just following the story that I already plotted out from the prep. So I picked up a lot of different things of, okay, to write fluently and just to like keep pushing yourself, it's really helpful to have that organization of like, all right, where is the story going? Right? What's my first scene? What's my second scene? Where do I want to take the character next?
So crazy to decide what one character says in their line. Yeah. Because like an actor, like you're giving an actor a line.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, how do I write this so that somebody would actually say it?
But how do I also tell the story with it?
That's what I'm saying. And here's the thing.
It's too cool.
I've had so many scripts where I go and I read through them and I'm like, how the fuck does anybody say this? Like nobody would say this. But you know why? It's because it's a period piece a lot of the time.
Yeah. Those period pieces are hard.
Then to write a period piece, don't even get me started. But then you have to figure out how do they talk in the time.
Yeah.
What content can I watch that kind of takes place in the time, whether it be a period piece or whether it be like it actually came from that time.
Yeah, how do I catch on to the lingo?
Exactly. Yeah. And so then you start studying from there. But it's like, I think personally, if you're writing something that takes place today, just write what you know.
Just write what you know.
And then if you have to Google something. But like you've met plenty of people. So like who is
don't discredit that. That like I think a lot of people sometimes they invalidate their own personal stories,
experiences.
Yeah, and say like, oh well, I'm not that interesting. I haven't met that many people. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. It's like don't discredit yourself.
That's what I'm saying.
Everyone has a story.
Everybody's met people, no? Yeah, and so it's like write some shit. And if you need to write angsty 40-year-old dad, think of the number one angsty 40-year-old dad you have ever met, right? And then write from him, like duh.
Even if you're writing things that are a bit more like fantastical in nature, like let's say you're doing.
It's difficult though. It's still really difficult. I want to emphasize.
No, it's not. It's like it's super easy, but it doesn't have to be complex.
Right.
Because if you're doing like Lord of the Rings, where you have these crazy creatures and animals and everything. Just try to find a way to connect to each character and be like, all right, yes, it's a troll or something,
right? But
it's an angsty 40-year-old man
troll. Exactly.
So then just take from what you know and put it into the troll.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right. So, it's like what attribute? Because there is a common phrase which is like, well, I can't remember exactly how it goes, honestly, so don't quote this. But it's
don't quote this.
Don't ever quote me.
But let's quote this.
Don't quote me before I have to say shit.
Okay.
Which I listened to that version that I was telling you about of
what song is that?
Boys in the Hood by there's this like crazy version. Hold on, let me actually quote
country.
Yeah, like this like country version of Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood.
We were talking to the guy at the bar about that.
Yeah.
By Dynamite Hack.
Dynamite.
It's like a country version.
Shout out to Dynamite Hack, Boys in the Hood. Shout out to Eazy-E, who also did the original Boys in the Hood. Yeah, obviously
shout out to Eazy-E first. But there's kind of a meme version, which is like Dynamite Hack's version, which is like a country version of Boys in the Hood, and it's hilarious.
I bet Eazy-E would have loved it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I don't know when it came out. I wonder if he was still alive. I don't know. When did Eazy-E die? It was like in
I think it was 90s? Either early 2000s or late 90s.
I have no idea. But I remember in Straight Outta Compton, he dies in the movie, so I assume that
he does die.
Anyway, rest in peace, Eazy-E.
Rest in peace, Eazy-E.
Rest in peace.
Back to the screenplay challenge. So.
Oh wait, hold on. We were finishing another point.
Oh, what point was it?
Shit, I can't remember.
That's-
I gotta blow my nose. You finish your point.
Hold on now. Another point. Anyway, welcome to the Sean Only Starbound podcast. Just talking about the screenplay challenge. I learned two different things. I learned something about myself as a writer and what does that mean and what are my strengths, weaknesses, etc. And I had a whole epiphany on what I thought I was as a writer. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. But then I also learned something, and also the work, the screenplay itself. So just to talk about me as a writer for a second, I always thought I was horrible at writing the nitty-gritty detail. If you gave me an overarching story, I can give you a lot of different ideas about how it should go, right? All right, the character should be at this point in the story. Go ahead. Character should be at this point in the story. Let's do this for the third act, yada yada. I can see a story from the far away kind of God view, but then when it comes to actually going in and then writing what those details are, I always thought I was bad. I always thought I was terrible at actually doing nitty gritty writing, right? I can do when the story's by somebody, but the screenplay isn't written by them.
Oh,
I thought I was good at the story by, but not the written by.
Dude, that's such a fine line.
It's different. It's two different things.
Nobody is not credible.
What you mean?
In my opinion, right?
Okay.
Everybody's lived experience is enough to write some shit, right?
Right.
Because you can only write what you know, and you shouldn't be, in my opinion, you should not be daunted or intimidated. Thank you. By what you don't know, right? And so when it comes to art, the only way to create is by doing. And a lot of the time people, I think, hold off because they are scared to do, right? But the first step is to do. To turn a light on.
You can't know yourself as a creative without doing something and then trying to find out who you are.
So
find yourself through the work.
Lived experience. There's so many young playwrights or screenwriters that have one film that they made when they were 21 or some crazy shit like that.
Do something for me.
And they do it, and they do it good. You know what I'm saying? And it's how do those people do it? Think about your age. Your age doesn't matter. Don't let it intimidate you in the sense that you haven't gotten started yet, because there's so many people that have done it when they're older, right?
There are people getting started in their 80s, bro.
You also don't have to wait for that. You don't have to. The language you've heard, right? The people you know, it's probably enough. So write it. And then if you need to check it by a friend, don't think you have to take the criticism, but take it as advice that you could. Yeah. But don't think, it's your language, it's your words, what you've consumed, what you've created. You don't have to change it, but it's never bad to have advice unless you let it control you.
And that's the thing. I went into this assuming I could not write nitty gritty details, like writing the actual dialogue, action lines, all that. After doing this and writing straight for 2 to 3 days,
right?
That's not true. I'm actually really, really good at writing the detailed, emotional moments. If you need a moment of suspense, I can write that. If you need a heartfelt moment, I can write that. A moment of action, I can really actually write the details well. Mm-hmm. There's this in-between layer, in between that God view of a story and the details, and that's actually what I feel I need to work on. So writing details, writing emotional moments, I can do that. Writing to get to the emotional moment, I think I still need to work on that.
So tricky. The God view is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel most narratives, books, are written from, well, not all, but some, a lot, are written from God view, right?
Right.
Johnny sat at his desk as he read the paper, the Harry Potter, right? It's written kind of in this narrator, third person. Is it third person? Yeah, third person.
I was gonna say I've only watched Harry Potter. I've never read Harry Potter.
But film is mostly a third person medium. Like, well, actually, that's really actually a good
It
question.
depends on how
because
you
on how
see
you
it.
think about it. Because there's something called like Action Hank, or what is it called? Like Action Henry.
I know what movie you're talking about. The one that's literally
it's
a POV.
literally a POV. In my idea, like in my usual perception of first person, when you use the words like I went to the store, usually it's like a biography or what is it called, an autobiography when they write it themselves. Like that's what first person is, right? But then if you think about it in like a film perspective, then a first person perspective would be like a video game perspective.
It doesn't have to be. There's also a subjective first person, like the movie Joker, where the entire movie is his perspective.
So true. Because like, well, I don't want to spoil it, but like sometimes there are scenes in movies where the one character, the main character, is supposed to observe them in their eyes, and others might not observe it the same way.
Yes.
And that is done in Joker. So you could make the argument that that is a first-person perspective. That's really well said. Yeah. That's true. But if we're taking it on like a very literal sense, right?
Right, yeah.
Like, I feel like Action Henry, whatever the fuck that movie is called.
I think it is called.
I haven't even seen it, but I remember the trailers.
Crazy Henry?
Henry something.
Action Henry, Crazy Henry. It's something like that. I know the movie that's
Hank?
literally.
Maybe it's like Action Hank or something.
Let me search it up.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
But like that movie, it's literally his like through his eyes, right? And that is like I feel like typically what we would translate, but it's all just a translation. It's like translating one book from
Hardcore
Spanish
Henry.
to English. Like there's so many different versions of translations. Like how can you decide which one is? There's no accurate one.
Rated R 2015 Hardcore Henry.
Hardcore Henry. Okay, so yeah. That's like a lot of video games, like Call of Duty or something, where you see the hands right through the eyes, but you don't see the.
The idea is that you're literally seeing it from their perspective,
their eyes, and that
their eyes,
right, and their eyes. So the word "eye" is like a double entendre for "eye" that is used in literature, right?
Yeah.
But then "you" is like second person, right? Like when you say like, isn't it like you?
No one does that shit though.
Yeah, you like very infrequent. You went to the store but if you're describing a hypothetical scenario, I could say to you, so you went to the store and you bought this food and say you walk down the aisle. Then I'm kind of using second person, no?
In like, that's a good point. So like in literature, they don't use it often, but it can be done like colloquially.
Right. Or if a person is quoting it or saying like, for example, if you went to the store, if it's a quote from a character in a book or something like that. Yeah. I think that could work. And then third person is like you see the character, like you have a narrator, and like we're like a out of the world and out of the if you've seen the Simpsons movie.
Yeah.
And I like to picture it as somebody who is outside of the dome in that movie. Because there's like a big dome from what I remember it happened in the Simpsons movie. Yeah. And like that is like a metaphor for the world that they're living in, right? And so imagine there's this 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah,
that's more than 10 years old. How there's like at the end how there's like the baby and shit that's like observing shit. Yeah. So that guy observes, no? So like the Watcher in the Guardians, like Stan Lee, is observing, right?
Okay.
So a writer is someone who observes the world. Right. Okay. Frequently, writers go to coffee shops to watch people to see how people act, so they can write people more realistically. Right. So if you're a writer, good way to get out of writer's block. Go to a coffee shop. Right.
Go stare at people.
You can drink a coffee while you do it, but you're as voyeuristic as Jimmy Stewart in Rear Window. But so is most people. But it's like that's a personal line, right?
And that's the thing. Like when I was writing this, like. I was talking about that God view. I think I find it easier for me to look at the key major plot points from a far perspective and be like, all right, this is supposed to happen this way. And going in and actually writing it, I realized I can also live in the story.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan, right? I've been reading his work recently. He uses a lot of, and I usually don't like this for screenplays, but he does this a lot, where he's like, all right, this something happens, and then we are scene transition.
Yeah.
That's what he says a lot. It's something happens, and then we are at this place.
Oh, you know what I did this week? Sorry, I'm just saying it for context. But
Okay,
you
go
want to
ahead.
finish first?
Let me finish. This
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah.
And I always find it weird because when you think about watching a movie, we are is not on screen. And
Right.
from my point of view, you should
Right.
only write what you're literally going to see or hear on the screen. So I felt like the language was weird.
But do you say cut to?
Huh?
Do you say cut to?
I normally don't say cut to. Some other people do say cut
Sometimes
to.
I say cut to.
I used to say cut to, but then I stopped doing that. And I have like weird writing rules just for myself personally.
Right. You need to come up with your own so you can get it done.
Not just that. It's like, think about it like this. When you say cut to as a writer and you're not the director, you're basically telling the director what to do.
Oh shit. I didn't think
because
about it
cut
like
to is an editing shot choice.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like instead you should write it in a story way. Like
right.
There's
but you're writing from a director's perspective.
I'm trying to get out of my director's perspective, ironically.
So it's like, as a writer, wouldn't you want to tell the director when to cut? I mean, it depends on the writer.
It depends on some writers would be like, I'm telling you how to tell the story.
Exactly.
But some directors would be like, no,
Dude,
fuck you. I'm gonna do it how
every form of art. Especially if you know it's got to go through multiple phases. Some people will leave the leniency. We talk about this with the playwrights.
Yeah.
Sometimes playwrights tell you exactly how they want the doors colored.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they won't say anything. I feel like Shakespeare is an example of somebody who's broad. And I feel like Tennessee Williams is an example of somebody who's specific.
Yeah.
And it's okay that they're both that way. But it's like, which style do you want to choose? And it kind of brings me back to my point of like, it's okay what style you are. It's okay how you say words. But like, write what you know.
Like, Nolan uses phrases like "we are," like "we're cutting to," like he uses phrases like that.
Right.
That's just his thing, and he's made some of the best movies ever.
And you can Google what the standard is, like what the industry standard is for this and that, if you really want to perfect it. But personally, I think the most important thing is the story, right? The plot. And I agree with the whole thing. What I was gonna say is that he says something happens, and then we cut to something else.
Yeah.
So like my biggest gripe with movies a lot of the time is scenes that feel, or TV shows mostly, scenes they feel like they go nowhere. It's like, why did I watch this? I don't get it. You know, it's like, what did I get out of the scene? Can I write it in a sentence, like what I got out of the scene? Usually, a lot of the times, like, no. Okay, what's going on with the writing here, right? But I watched The Godfather this week, and like
one of the greatest movies, one of the greatest screenplays ever written.
Bro, I only saw it when I was like very young. It's been a long time. Yeah. My dad showed it to me when I was little, and it was hard for me to understand my own brand. But I did see it before, but I wanted to refresh my memory, right? And I just feel like every single scene, I was like, oh, that's why that scene happened. And like, they weren't afraid to jump a big time gap, right? So a lot of times I think people are scared to jump too far in the future because it's like they think the audience will be like thrown off. But it's like
we're still living in this moment, and all of a sudden we're out of
fuck
that
it.
moment.
Tell the story how you have to tell the story. But like the scenes, like if you need to cut a scene or some shit like that, what is the scene telling? Why? Is that a plot point that you can cut? Why or why not? Right?
Right.
And then like that should be the movie. Because like that's how The Godfather did, I feel like. Because like every scene is like, oh, boom, oh, boom.
That's
boom.
I feel like, to me, the best stories are the stories that have clockwork writing, where it's like each scene is so important.
Yep.
Each scene like either tells you something or leads to something that will matter for the story.
Exactly.
Right?
Which is why
use every scene that you have.
Yeah.
Don't waste people's time.
Which is exactly. And The Godfather is like 3 hours long, and I didn't feel like my time was wasted. Okay, that is rare. That is rare.
Bro.
And I can't wait to watch the second one now, which I've heard.
That's not how I feel.
I don't even know if I've seen the second one, but my dad says it's better than the first.
I have not seen the second or the third. I have seen the first, but it was like a long time ago.
So I'm really excited, and I hope to watch it in this coming week. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I have time, but I hope I do.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Zack Snyder movies. Usually, I feel like he's intentionally wasting my time because in a lot of his movies, and don't get it twisted, I think still Zack Snyder is a fantastic director in a particular sense.
In a setting,
huh?
In a particular setting.
In a certain situation, right? I think Zack Snyder is one of the best visual directors ever.
Right.
I think when it comes to like visual storytelling,
visuals is what he's good at.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
visuals.
When you want to see a movie and it tells you something in terms of story, he can do that visually.
Yeah.
But there's always something about the writing when you watch it where it's like, this doesn't add anything.
That's what I'm saying. And like, here's the thing. Personally, right? And I know this might be a hot take for a lot of people. It might be. But I really enjoyed the Watchmen movie when I first watched it. I watched the 3.5 hour cut, which is like
the only cut, real cut,
which is like the director's cut, right? And I loved it, but I hadn't read Watchmen when I watched the movie. I watched the movie a long time ago. It was probably like 8th grade, 2013 or some shit like that. And then I read Watchmen later. And in hindsight, he did like verbatim take the comic book and turn it into the movie and cut out what he had to cut out. And there is like, I think there's actually a change near the end. And that might have upset some people. But if you take that out and you take, like I want a director that will adapt the comic book to a like, how do I say, loyal or true, reasonable adaptation that looks correct.
There are different types of adaptations, and we can go the whole thing about that, where it's like there are people that adapt something and then kind of do their own thing with it.
Yeah.
And then there are the people that verbatim just take what was written and then just translate it directly to the screen.
And there is use and want and need for both types, right? Yeah. And so Zack Snyder, I feel like on Watchmen, did a great job personally. I don't know about all the, feedback and all. I think it probably wasn't very well received. I'm not sure.
Watchmen?
I feel like I heard that Watchmen, like the regular cut, wasn't well received, but that the director's cut is a little bit more appreciated.
That's like every movie he's ever done.
Right,
right. When it releases, they're like, but then the director cut comes out and everyone's like, oh my God.
And so one could argue that he's a bad director because he's not able to get good reviews and feedback based on, what's dropped in the theaters. But then another might argue that because he's taking his creative eye to, like, he's fighting amongst executives to get, like he will only tell the story at the longest point and he will only cut it down unless he
Some people try to get in late and out early.
Right.
Him, it's reversed. He must get in as early as possible, get out as late as possible.
Yes, I feel like he almost refuses to adapt the studio execs to make the film better, and that's probably why he doesn't work well with studio execs sometimes. But when given the time needed, if you want an adaptation that is like verbatim, I thought Watchmen was sick. Batman vs Superman. Let's not even touch that ground.
Let's not touch the ground.
That's not an adaptation. I mean, it is. It's like an adaptation of like what is it called? The Dark Knight Returns. I think it's called The Dark Knight Returns.
It is.
Yeah,
I've read it.
It's kind of a mini adaptation of that, but it's not like verbatim adaptation like Watchmen's. Watchmen is like fucking panel for panel. Like you can literally watch the necklace get ripped off of Martha Wayne's neck. Oh wait. No,
you're talking about Dark Knight. You're talking about
I'm talking about his scene in Batman vs Superman. But that's a good example. That's a good example of him doing it verbatim. Yeah, like he doesn't do the entire movie because it's not a complete adaptation.
There's definitely a spectrum of adaptation where they're the ones that take like maybe the title and that's it.
Right.
They're the ones that do the verbatim shot for shot, scene for scene.
Right.
And then there are those ones in the middle where it's like a little on the loose end, a little on the closer end.
Let's talk about Kick-Ass, okay?
Kick-Ass. Is that verbatim?
Kick-Ass was made, from what I understand, I might be wrong, don't quote me.
Don't quote
me, boy, I ain't said shit.
Yeah.
But like, Kick-Ass apparently, okay, hypothetically, was kind of made to be a comic book and a film at the same time.
Right.
So like
that's wild too.
They
like knowing ahead of time that you want to make a movie, that's wild.
So they wrote like 2 different stories at the same time.
Different stories?
Yeah, like one for film and one for comic book, and they were kind of different, but they were like kind of similar. I haven't read the comic, but I've watched.
How do
both
you know
Kick-Ass
what
movies.
would work better in a movie? I guess you can kind of already guess, but I feel like you make the changes based on what the original is. But if you're doing both at the same time, it's like.
Well, I think it's fun because it's kind of like new territory that was unyet
tested.
Yeah, and so it's like
because you don't know what people will like want to keep the same and want to like. You don't know what your story is.
You don't know which one's going to
And
be
you're
preferred.
still- yeah.
Exactly. Like, well, what I do know is that Kick-Ass 1 is such a good movie. And like, if you haven't seen Kick-Ass and you
I
want to
highly
watch a
recommend
superhero
Kick-Ass.
movie that's in the vein of The Boys Are Invincible, you should
It's
watch
not even in the
Kick-Ass.
vein. You can argue Kick-Ass probably inspired
You
the
could
boys.
100% argue that. You could 100% argue that. Like, and I might agree with
I
that.
almost feel like, in like a weird way, in like 10 years before the boys season 1,
Yeah.
Kick-Ass happened.
And I love
You
The
know what I
Boys. The Boys and Invincible. Oh, gosh. Incredible. So well done. So well done. Like,
Invincible.
and the Boys. Like,
Invincible
but I
trilogy.
agree. I
Oh
feel
my
like
God.
Kick-Ass was like earlier in that sort of superheroes might not be so glorious type of beat.
Like the satire of superheroes. Kick-Ass is one of the earliest films to do it.
That's what I'm saying.
Them, Invincible,
What else?
and then
Yeah, what else was like? I mean, like obviously, like The Dark Knight plays on themes like that.
no.
Well, actually, it's probably more so
Dark Knight, I think, is a
Batman
more
Begins.
classic.
I think it's actually Batman Begins where it's like, well,
I don't think it satires it. I think it
no,
adapts.
I was
it.
gonna say,
It,
I was gonna say the whole like mansion thing with like the sort of abandonment. Like they definitely deal with themes of Bruce Wayne and his like, is he necessary? I feel like. They could have definitely delved into it more, but I feel like the abandoned Wayne Manor. Like, do you feel like? Well, actually, you watched it more recently than I. Do you feel like there's a need for Batman in Batman Begins and Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises?
It changes per movie. It really changes.
Which one is he not needed in?
The one that he's not needed in,
It's definitely not Rises because they put in like the villains and stuff.
I'd say you could argue in The Dark Knight, the whole movie kind of tries to comment on, is Batman helping or is he making things worse?
Well, the biggest argument with Batman is like, is Batman as bad as the Joker because he's doing this shit, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about The Killing Joke, which is one of the most famous comic books of all time.
Yeah.
That's more than 10 years old, so I will spoil it.
we can spoil.
Um,
we can spoil old
I'll
comics.
spoil
man.
that shit right now. And pause this shit if you want to read it. But like, basically, at the end of The Killing Joke, there's this like scene with Batman and the Joker, right? And they're on a rooftop,
Yeah.
talking, and
Yeah.
the Joker's like some shit like, you know, you're not so different, you and I. And Batman's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'll never be like you, and all that shit.
Yeah.
And then the Joker, you know, they start like talking to each other and shit like that. And the Joker tells Batman a joke. I believe the joke is let me see if I can recall it. Something along the lines of, okay, there's these two prisoners and they're trying to escape Arkham Asylum. And one of the prisoners, like they get on top of the roof and they don't know how to get across to the next roof because there's like a gap, right? And so prisoner number 1 says, how are we going to get across the roof? And prisoner 2 says, oh, don't worry. I'll just shine my my flashlight and you can walk across the beam, like the beam of light. And then prisoner number 1 says, are you crazy? You'll just turn it off when I'm halfway across. And then Batman and Joker start laughing, and then Batman just fucking kills Joker. I mean, it's like they both start laughing, like they both like, and so this is like one of the most famous Batman comics of all time because it's sort of like it's almost like a hypothetical story. It's called an Elseworld story, where like
I think they canonized it.
They did because like the writer made it, and they probably made it vague enough for like studio reasons or something. But like it seems very implied that Batman did kill Joker. Like that's the way the comic book ends, right? But like then you don't technically have to take away the fact that Batman killed Joker, which a lot of time we talked about this, where it's like writer versus company. From the writing perspective, it seems like Batman kills Joker, and it really is like the number one comic book you can refer back to where you're like, is Batman as bad as Joker? Because Joker drives him to this point of like madness. You know, Joker kills, or not kills, but shoots somebody dear to him, right?
The parent of that person,
right?
Yeah.
And Batman ends up killing him. And that's sort of the line that Batman never crosses. But that, especially recently, people love diving into the realm of like, will Batman cross the killing line or whatever? And
Dark Knight actually plays with that a lot because he does kill in that movie.
who does he kill?
Harvey Dent.
I thought he just kind of like accidentally fell.
Yeah. People have different interpretations of this scene. I actually like the idea that he intentionally.
But what do they show? I can't remember.
So, like, and this movie came out in 2008. So, is this a spoiler? No. Okay.
23, bro.
Talk about
23.
23, yeah. So, the scene, and I've seen this scene a million
10
times.
years.
So, I've studied this scene. So, I want to say that I get it because you can always learn more, but
Right.
I've looked at it intrinsically.
Right. There's not
Harvey-
many more people who are well studied on the scene than you.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. So he's holding Gordon's family hostage. Batman's like, "You have the gun, Harvey, so put it at the people responsible." He's like, "All right," flips a coin. It's heads or whatever. He shoots, or is it's tails? He shoots Batman. Batman drops. He's like, "All right, my turn." And in the script, actually, it says Harvey hopes that he dies or something, right?
Oh.
So he flips it. He gets heads, so he lives. And he actually is supposed to be like, fuck. Like, or not like the line wasn't fuck, but he's supposed to be like some kind of sigh of disappointment.
Wait. So you're saying Harvey flips it and it's like heads I live, tails I die?
So it's heads you live, tails you die, right?
Right.
He flipped it for Batman. It was tails. He shoots Batman.
Okay.
Batman drops.
He flips it for himself.
Then he flips it for himself next,
Ooh,
right?
yeah,
While
yeah.
holding Jim Gordon's like boy,
Right. Oh, right.
and he flips
right.
it. And in the script,
Yeah.
it says he's supposed to be disappointed when it lands on heads.
Oh.
Showing that he kind of wished he killed himself.
Right.
Right? And like that's a really juicy bit in the script that's just not in the movie.
Well, that's the interesting part that we're talking about, collaboration.
Yeah.
Some is lost in translation.
Yeah.
Which do you take as more valuable, the final film or the final scripts?
You can have a whole argument about authorship because at the end of the day, people are watching the movie, not reading the screenplay.
Unless it's a book, and then you can argue that the writer's intent is obviously more important, which is why there's so many arguments over Harry Potter or other adaptions like
and what's the real
Percy Jackson and shit like that.
version.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Shakespeare argument we had, it's like, what is more important, like Shakespeare's play as he wrote it, or what he had to change to be able to perform it, as far as like royal persecution, like you'd have to like avoid it.
And we'd have to have a whole conversation about like presentation, right? Because the second part of art, first part of art is making it. Second part is presentation.
Right.
So I won't get into that because it's too long. But presentation is very important.
Yeah. So what we see, presentation.
Right. So what we see is he flips for himself. He sees he gets heads. He doesn't shoot himself, and he's just like, all right. And in the movie interpretation, it looks like he accepts the fate of the coin. So he's not happy or sad. He's just like, it's what it is. It's fair.
Oh,
right.
But
That's
you
what
said,
his
hold
whole
on,
thing is. That's what he
question.
says in the scene. It's fair.
Question.
Yes.
Are you checking for Justice here?
He's here.
Oh shit.
I'll be right back.
I'll pose the question to the viewers.
Kevin only pod.
Hey everybody. We're about to have a guest on the podcast, but that also probably means that we'll have to wrap up soon. I'm sorry it was a shorter episode today. We're at 38 minutes right now. But that's about the time of a sort of Zoom podcast. I know we had a few of those episodes. I want to thank you all for listening. And I just wanted to say I really appreciate it. It's been nice. And it's really cool when you guys reach out and say that you've been listening to the podcast. And it means a lot. I really appreciate it. And anyway, back to the Harvey Dent thing. It's interesting what an actor can do to change the perspective of the whole script, right? Because like if a writer writes, he is disappointed at the fact that he got tails and therefore he lives, right? The guy who's playing Harvey, who I unfortunately can't remember the actor's name right now. Let me check it actually. I like giving actors and directors credit, of course. So the actor then has to take the script, right, and decide like how am I going to be, how am I going to look, how am I going to sound disappointed. We're talking about Aaron Eckhart, Eckhart. He's the guy that played Harvey Dent. He's good. He's really good. I haven't seen him in much other stuff. Interesting. Anyway, Yeah. So the question is, how does he take that? Even if Christopher Nolan gave him that direction, because I don't know if the script is sort of like the screenplay they get directly, or if it's more so the like an adapted version for actors. I honestly have no clue. But it's like, how does he take that and decide what disappointed means? Disappointed, like he's upset. Okay, you could basically say like maybe that's a frowny face, right? So you start as an actor, like, but there's more subtle ways to be upset than a frowny face. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's more so accepting defeat is a way of being upset. So maybe him being satisfied, accepting the fate of the coin, is his interpretation of being upset, which doesn't make it, which means that he's not being unloyal to the script. He's simply taking his own interpretation of the script. And if you don't have an open dialogue with the writer the whole time, then you can only take what the writer has written, right? And therefore, a lot of the time, especially if it's a screenplay, the writer has written it so that it can be adapted to certain perspectives. If Tennessee Williams tells you that like blue doors have to be blue, then blue doors have to be blue. But what is blue? Like maybe it's like a shade of purple, and like it's kind of hard to tell the difference, especially with that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Justice, what's up? Yo, welcome to Starbound. What's good?
What's up, man? What's
What's
good?
good? How we doing?
Doing well. Doing well. How
Hell
about
yeah.
you?
Good, good. You want to say hi to the people? We're about to wrap this up, but like this is Starbound Podcast. This is Justice, everybody.
What's up, people?
Sean and I's good friend, and we're about to go out tonight.
Yes, sir.
It's a very special occasion. Yeah. But we were just talking about the Dark Knight, actually.
Couch, bro. We're on the couch.
Oh snap! Yeah.
Let's have a little.
Wait. Did you see? You saw Ant-Man?
Yeah, the most recent one, right?
It was good.
It was good. It was good, but it could have been better.
Oh, okay.
But it
I
was,
also saw the movie. Without spoiling it, I felt like it was inconsequential.
Interesting.
yeah.
I still have
Yeah.
to see it, and I also can't believe we missed Shazam too. I feel like
We got a list. Bro.
movies are like less, like they stay in theaters for like less amounts of time nowadays. I wonder if that's because
They're
like
out of there quick.
COVID ramifications or something.
COVID.
Because businesses
streaming.
are suffering. You know.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's
Yeah.
like the audience that goes to theaters. That audience is getting smaller and smaller each year.
Yeah.
So it's only the people that come opening weekend or the first 3-4 weekends.
Especially
Yeah.
since streaming has picked up. Because
Streaming's
one
a
other
big
thing
thing.
is because of COVID, like people started watching streaming more, and streaming took advantage of it because you got to make money, right? Got to hustle.
Right.
And so then now people are used to it and okay with watching movies on the home screen.
And also it created like this trendy vibe of like, if your movie's not trendy right now, they don't care to see it.
So true.
Mm.
It's
now
like the
people
buzz
are-
of this week. you
People
know?
are only getting out for like superhero movies, and even the big movies like Babylon with like Chris Pine. Wasn't it like Emma Stone too or something like that? Maybe it wasn't Emma
I
Stone.
don't think it was
But it was like a-
Margot Robbie was in that one, Babylon.
Babylon.
Yeah, Babylon had
Yeah, I
like
think
Everything
Margot
in
Robbie.
Amsterdam.
Babylon had hella names attached. And from
Yeah.
what I understand, like not many people saw it, but it's apparently really good. But
it's
I haven't seen it.
time.
I've
it
not
tells
seen
you
it,
that
but-
the celebrity is not getting the attention anymore. It's more so the
The story.
superhero, like the story. Yeah, but it's like,
that one movie, everything,
Everywhere
everywhere
All
at
at
once.
Once?
Yeah, like that. Didn't get like
yeah,
before it came out. I wasn't seeing like too many commercials like that. It
True.
wasn't like too hype, but it was. I haven't
It
heard a
got
bad review.
everywhere
Yeah,
all
like
of a
it's
sudden.
good.
It's so true. In a way, it's like it taking the highlight off the celebrity has allowed for movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once to
Yeah.
like shine.
We're out of the like Arnold Schwarzenegger era where Arnold will do a movie and you're going for Arnold.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, we're going for the story or the character.
Right.
And if you don't have either, no one's showing up.
Right, so
You-
true.
No
You know,
one's showing up.
What's his name? Falcon, the guy who plays Falcon.
Oh,
What's his
Anthony
name?
Mackie.
Anthony Mack.
He said something about that when Marvel. I don't blame Marvel for it, but they definitely played a part in it. Where it's like you come to see Captain America, Iron Man, Falcon. Like you're not coming for Chris Evans.
Yes, I heard that
Like,
quote.
that's-
yeah,
And that's really how it is now.
It is. It's so interesting that like signing your name to a superhero is really like the best way to make ballin' money in the industry, right? Because
Yeah.
like you didn't
Yeah.
have to used to do that.
But
And
it
the
also
longevity,
means
too.
that you're
Yeah.
forever attached to that. Like if you do other movies, people are like, oh my God, that's not Tom Holland. It's Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man in this other movie.
If you're
It's
walking
not-
on the street, what are the kids saying to you? It's, oh my gosh, you are Arnold Schwarzenegger? Nah, that's Tom Holland.
Yeah.
That's Paul Rudd.
That's
That's
the thing.
Ant-Man.
No,
That's
they're
Spider-Man.
like they think of you
Yeah.
as the character before like the actor,
Right.
which is not a horrible thing.
Yeah. No.
It's
Like
just different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
that's
different.
it's interesting though. I like it because I think like as an actor, like I mean I'm not an actor, but it's
I don't know y'all paying
but
as an actor, bro.
hypothetically.
Yeah.
but it's like that would be like nice though to like because you're adopting like this character, like you're not getting out there to like be
Right.
like oh yeah like it's me.
Dude,
I mean in a way I
yeah.
guess, but it's like you're there to be the character. So
I
like,
agree 100%. I would like to be known as a character, and maybe I'm wrong. I might regret that later, but I think I would rather personally be like rewarded for my performance than rewarded for my face, right?
exactly.
So it's
exactly.
like-
That's like you people come in to see the movie just because it's like oh I'm in it. Like no, I want you to see it because like you're genuinely interested
You're
in
good.
this type of story.
Right.
Or like yeah.
You're good as blank.
But
And
then
even
there
as
are-
a side effect, if I become, a famous actor,
Yeah.
if you become a famous actor because of your performance, at least you're a famous actor because of your performance.
But there are some actors who just want the attention.
yeah,
So it's like, no, I want you to know me.
right.
Like I'm the star. Fuck my
Right.
roles, right? Like,
And I mean that's okay too. It's like personal preference, People got to hustle. I think what the hard thing to remember sometimes is that we're in an industry, and like as math as accountants, some accountants don't want to do math, but they want to get money, they want to get paid. I assume the same is for actors. So
That's
I try
true,
not
bro.
to treat those people who really like want to do it for money badly because it's like you got to hustle, like whatever works for you, whatever
If
lifestyle
you're good
you can
at
make.
it and you want to get paid, I can't hate you. For that.
Exactly. But then
Yeah,
at the
I hate
same
you.
time, it's like I always really want to dive into like the nitty gritty of like the character because it's just the only way I can get like a genuine performance out of it. Like
Yeah.
if I'm like just taking it I'm so intrigued to see like how the industry progresses.
Yes. I just came up with a good segue. Check this out.
Yeah, let's go.
Just like how some actors that have to play a character who relies purely on chance have to live in that character, like Harvey Two-Face. Just to bring it back to
Harvey
your-
Dent.
Say that.
Harvey
Say
Dent.
that one more time.
I forgot how I put it together. So speaking of actors that have to live in their roles, right?
Right.
Some actors that have to play characters that live purely off of chance have to believe it.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing Harvey Two-Face.
Well, the Joker is an infamous character for knowing to be like a scary one to like method act, right?
It's also the easiest way to get an Oscar.
That's
It's okay. I got you with the double around. It's a two-sided coin.
Come here. That was hard. That was hard.
It's a double-edged sword.
What was the point I was trying to make
Doesn't
about that
matter what you
last?
say.
Oh, to get back to the Dark Knight scene, right? Harvey shoots Batman. He flips a coin. In the actual scene, he treats it more like, all right, I just do whatever the coin does. I'm more like a weapon and not like feeling anything.
Oh,
about
I was
it.
talking to the audience about.
Oh, you're talking about it.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. I missed that part. But just to wrap up the point I was trying to make. He's about to shoot Jim's kid, right? He flips the coin. While it's in midair, Batman comes in out of nowhere. Boom.
Oh,
Tackles him.
Tackles him
didn't kill
and
him, though.
he tackles
Oh,
him
shit.
and the boy.
Wait, before the coin lands, but in the script, the coin lands?
No, in the script, the coin it's the same way. Coin is in the air. Batman swoops in, and then when the coin lands, it lands on heads.
I thought you said that.
That's meaning like
Meaning he was dead?
he was gonna kill him. Like
he was gonna the coin. If it decided to kill the boy, he was gonna kill the boy.
So if it landed on heads, he was going to kill the boy.
If it landed on tails, he was gonna kill the boy.
But it landed on heads.
He actually,
Okay, but
Ironically,
hold on. Here's my question. You said that Harvey flipped it for himself, no?
yeah, it was Batman, then it was him,
And then it was the boy. So for him, it landed on
heads.
and that meant that he didn't kill himself, no?
Yes.
Right. And so that's what I was saying was interesting. Because like how do you take from like a screenwriting perspective, how do you take disappointment and then turn it into a physical
Like what does that mean?
Right.
for
And
a-
so I was arguing for his sake, the actor's sake, right? That like from a writing perspective, that is something that is so broad that you have to just take it as an actor and say, what is disappointment? And then you have to like decide that shit, right?
Yeah.
So disappointment doesn't have to mean a frowny face. It could just be a non-reaction.
yeah.
That's a good point.
So that could just be the actor's choice. But then you get this kind of this art of filmmaking, which comes back to we were talking about how like Shakespeare writes like this shit, and then he has to change lines sometimes because like the king doesn't want him to say something some type of way. And so it's like the same thing can be said for film, except screenplays I feel like are written almost to be more adaptable, and then sometimes plays are almost more specific.
Screenplays are designed to be seen and heard.
Right, and like plays sometimes like Tennessee Williams and shit will be like
plays are also designed to be seen and heard.
Right, but it's like it depends on the playwright, like or the writer.
Yeah.
In any media.
Yeah.
Like how much they want control, right? Yeah. It's like, is the writer a writer? Like I feel like if they're a writer director, they'll probably put in like colors.
If you're a writer director, then you're just writing whatever you want in the movie into the like a lot of my short film scripts, they're very specific because I know how I want to shoot it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Tarantino does the same stuff.
Like, right. Oh, like what? You got an example or something?
Like he'll like, because like you can have a different type of format. There is no like set format for a script.
That's the biggest thing, right?
You can have like I've seen pictures like in scripts.
Like, what?
Oh, really? Oh,
shit. Like okay, but if you're the director and not the writer, would you hate that or love that? I personally might hate it. I would consider it. I feel
like it does depend.
Yeah, because it does depend on what the picture is.
It would suck if you were a writer and you spent a lot of time on it, and the director just said, "Fuck this, I hate pictures."
If it's a metaphorical picture, like I'm supposed to get inspiration from it, I love that.
What is a metaphorical picture?
Like, it's not that
you describe the picture.
No, it's a picture that's supposed to be representative of what it should feel like.
Oh, like a mood board.
Yes, like a mood board.
Wait, that's okay, but a picture is not?
No, because if it's a picture of literally like the shot that they want, you're telling me what to do. And I don't like
it. Hold on, though, because then we talk about the Ryan Johnson, J.J. Abrams thing, and it's like, then it gets into, that gets messy.
And you can like, and you can always, that's why like communication with the director and the writer like is key for real, like doing that. But it's like, for me, if I was in that position as a director, it's like, you know, I would appreciate I guess like the difference in a way, like the fact that it's like unique, because it's like reading a like 90-page script, 100-page script, that shit can get like really just dull.
So true. I like a photo every once in a while.
So like something that's like you know, it's keeping it spicy in a way.
Picture books are cool as shit. Don't let anybody tell you different. I love comic books. That's all they are.
From my perspective, as a director, I feel like my job is to take what you give me, visualize and audibly listen to, okay, what does this feel like? What's the emotion I should portray for this scene? How do I translate what's on the page? And then I come up with the visuals and the audio. So if you tell me how to do it, then like, I mean, I can take that and then make my own thing out of it.
Right.
But it's like, you're doing my job.
The key is intent.
I might know a better way to do that than what you're trying to tell me.
I think the tricky part is like you not taking it personally.
Damn, Kevin, what you trying to say?
Sensitive.
Hold on.
You're a bitch. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. You're a bitch and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, so fuck that shit. No, I'm playing. What I'm trying to say is that you might take it personally.
Right.
The writer might take it personally.
Yeah.
But if you have the final say, you don't have to give a fuck about what the writer did. But I don't think you should. I mean, personally, I wouldn't accept it as a diss that the person put in more work to give me pictures. You know what I'm saying? So, like, think about it like this: if you got more power, you don't gotta accept that.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be bad to have. I mean, some people don't like watching the performance first, right? Like, I didn't watch Streetcar.
Right? Were you watching Marlon Brando before you did?
I didn't because I didn't want to imitate. So, if you're like that, that's cool. But then, you know, you can go in with sticky notes and put your little sticky notes over the pictures if you really want to. But I think that it's like so unique that a writer would even do that as a director, like I would actually probably be more excited about it.
I'd be entertained. I'd definitely like ask him like, are there any other stuff? Like what else you think? Like let's really like, but like, you know, directors, you know, like it's your actual vision. At the end of the day. So like, I definitely understand like.
It has to be like it depends on what the image is. Right. If it's supposed to fit like a metaphor, or you're trying to give me like a vibe or just something to work off of, I actually love it. It's weird. It's like two extremes. I love that you're giving me that, and I'd like to explore what that is.
Right.
But if it's like you're telling me a shot that I should specifically do, it's like Okay, I might not. Instead of doing an insert cut, I might just have the character hold it up.
Okay,
move into
but
the
if they're
camera
writing
and then...
shit like insert cut, okay, now this is a
That's
good
what I'm
point
saying,
because
it's like
we brought this up
you're telling me
earlier.
what to
You're
do.
right. You're right. We brought this up earlier,
Yeah.
right? It's like, do you write cut to? I might write cut to because it's just easier, but I probably wouldn't say like. I probably would not say pan.
Like dissolve.
Like
to,
yeah, dissolve to.
Yeah.
I'm glad because I actually this is helping because I used to do that like as a writer, as a screenwriter. I would write like dissolve to, cut to, and
well, here's the thing. That's not a bad skill to have.
And I can also understand why you would want to do that because
for certain scenes, like it
as
makes
a writer,
sense,
you have to
like,
visualize what the movie looks
and
like.
if you're friends with the director, honestly, or if you
probably get away with
or
that
there
shit.
probably are a lot of writers that do that, and it's okay. It's honestly like, but I think at the same time, you're giving the director free work if you're doing it. I might be wrong though, because maybe some directors expect it. Like, who's to know? It's
some
like
directors might be like, you got to give me as much. I need to work off of literally whatever you want. Yeah, I guess everyone has their preference.
Yeah,
but communication.
Communication is key. Communication.
Yeah. Like as an actor, right? Sometimes you might want to see all the different iterations of a character, so you can pick out. All right. Where do I fit in the mix? Like, what can I take? What can I perfect? Some other ones might be like, all right, to make this as unique as possible, I cannot look at any of these references.
I don't judge anybody who's watched.
However you want to do it.
Iteration of the character. In fact, if you watch so many iterations of the character, then you can take from the best iterations and decide what you want. I doubt that Joaquin Phoenix didn't watch The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, there's some shit that
everyone's seen The Dark Knight,
right? That being said, like Brando's known for doing a very specific iteration of Stanley Kowalski, and he literally, I think, was in the original cast on the play too, from what I understand. And so, like, it's kind of a known thing that like those, like most people imitate Brando. So like, I didn't want to, so I didn't watch a movie because I'm like, how can I imitate him if I didn't watch a movie? That being said, if he was a character that was like done multiple times, like James Bond or something like that, I'd probably watch every movie because it's like at that point, it's like
there's enough iterations where you can be like, all right, I can make a more broader sense of the character instead of like this particular iteration.
I could go cold turkey and read the script and do what I wanted with it, and if I'd never watched James Bond, right?
That's hard to do.
That's already hard to do. But say you hadn't, and you just knew, okay, suave British guy, okay, and you read the script, you got to do it. Imagine trying to do that without having watched any of the James Bond movies. It's like, it would be weird. It might be kind of cool. So that would work for some actors.
It'd be unique.
Right.
It'd be unique for sure.
It would be unique. But that being said, because there's so many different variations, I feel like there's equally as much value in watching all the iterations and doing your version and taking what you can.
It also depends on, because some people are very impressionable. So if they're like monkey see, monkey do. So if they see something, they'll just take it.
Yeah.
I feel like me personally, I'm very impressionable. So if you give me something that's too literal, I'll just do it instead of doing kind of my own thing with it.
Yeah.
So, but I do love to be inspired by things. So it all depends.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Give me stuff to inspire me in certain like ideas and creations and make sure we're on the same direction. But don't give me verbatim things to like do this.
Right.
Because then I won't be creative, right? Again, with that whole thing about like an insert cut, I might on the day want to do a push into the object
but
when a character's holding it and then push out.
You're like, when you say it, sometimes it sounds like the Rian Johnson perspective. Like, don't you dare fucking tell me what to do. I want to do the exact opposite.
But
the guy who did The Last Jedi, like he went in
Star Wars
for
movie?
The Force Awakens and was like, nah, fuck that shit.
I
that was
like
the middle
it's
one, right?
JJ's fault because Ryan is the writer. It's in his right to change whatever.
And I agree with you. And I think that Ryan, I can see how he would have been pissed off. But would you let that affect how you put Star Wars on just because some guy gave you a script that was a little too tedious? You can throw that out whenever you want.
I wouldn't have done what Ryan did.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Because Ryan took it as like a personal vendetta of like, I will do everything the opposite of whatever you did. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't take it that far. But again, I do understand that like if you're given this position as writer director, it's because they want you to write and direct what speaks to you.
Right.
So if you're just the wrong person hired for the job, that happens. Maybe Ryan wasn't the right person to hire.
True.
Right? Because someone else might still be like, all right, I'll take what JJ did and just keep going. With
That's
it.
a very good point.
But you gotta let a creative create what they want to create.
I think that Ryan was in a very tricky position, and honestly, I don't think I can blame anyone on a personal scale from dealing with Star Wars because how daunting of a task is that? And like, who's to actually?
Yeah, can like all right. Do you feel like because you like to write shit, right? If someone came to you and was like, "Yo, I need you to write Star Wars," would you do it?
I definitely like ask more questions, but I'd be like, yeah.
I say how much.
That's the first question. That's the first question.
That's the
How
very
much?
first question.
How much?
That is a very important question, bro.
I'd be like, shit.
And I'd be like, yo, like, give me details. Like, you can't just be like, yo, like, write Star Wars for me. Like what's the concept? Like, what part of Star Wars?
Because
like,
I
it's
feel
so
like
big.
the fandom of Star Wars is so like they will kill you, bro.
Dude, that's what I'm
they
saying.
will
Like,
murder
you could actually get merged probably if you're writing like a bad
I'm
Star Wars
saying,
script,
like the Star Wars fans are crazy. So
Yeah.
I feel like as a director, if someone came to me and said, "Hey, direct the Star Wars thing," it would be a lot of pressure.
I would definitely, I would do it.
I would
And
do it.
I'd be, but like I would. It's like training though. Like I'd
Yeah.
watch
You have to
all the
work
Star
out.
Wars.
Yeah.
I'd watch all the trilogies,
Right,
every
right.
single one.
TV
I'd watch
shows,
TV shows,
right.
everything, so I could really see like, all right, this is the world. This is how these characters act. So it's like, I might even play the games, bro. I might play the games. Like just,
Some of those games are fire.
Yeah, I got
just to learn some of the moves, like the
right.
like
Force Unleashed,
Like-
bro. That was like shit back in the day.
yeah.
Well, Ryan Johnson said, "Fuck that. I'm gonna do my own thing."
We had our
Fuck you.
our Star Wars episode is out right now, which is
Go check out our Star Wars episode. It was the one before this.
May the 4th is when we recorded it. May the 4th be with
May
you.
the 4th be with
That's
you.
what I'm saying. It
Check
was
that
fun.
shit out. Check that out.
It was a good time. Yeah, hell yeah.
Anyway, we should definitely wrap this up.
Yeah, we got some places to be
see.
tonight. It's an early,
So-
but we got an hour in.
That's a
Yeah,
great hour.
Thank you for joining
know
us,
what I mean?
Justin.
Thank you. That was a great
Thank you for having me,
guest
man.
star,
Hell yeah,
bro.
let's go.
Thank you, man.
Fucking speaking facts,
Let's
bro.
go.
Like,
For real.
we gotta have you on more often, bro. Like, you got a good perspective.
Yeah, bro. We're always talking movies, writing, all that shit. So
Bet,
I feel
bro.
like
Yeah,
you're
let
a
me know.
needed perspective.
Hell yeah, this is fun. Yeah, this podcasting.
We're trying to do
Starbound
another
podcast.
episode with Justice right here. Great writer.
You'll join us for
Love
our
this
sign
shit.
off. Usually it's just like a 2-person sign off, but you have to come up with a catchy catchphrase. We're gonna throw you into the ringer, so just get ready. You can go after Sean and I and just give whatever nickname you want.
Yeah,
Have our own thing.
just gotta jump in
All
there.
right, Sean, get us started.
You said
Let's go.
nickname?
Thank you for joining us very much.
Yeah, thank you for
Nickname.
joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We gotta get out of here real quick.
Yeah.
So it's your host, King Cudjo.
And Cough Drippy.
Hey, and it's your boy Jay Biz.
Oh!
Whoa,
We're out of
Jay
here.
Biz is in the
Jay
building.
Biz.
All
Thank
right,
you for
2
joining us.
Chainz.
Jay Biz.
Man,
Let's go.
he said big biz, bro.